Hey everybody. So what'd you think, if you hadn't seen it? Your new favorite Christmas movie? Alright, I've got a little list of questions here, and then we're going to turn it over to you guys. First off, I guess, kind of talk to us about how you got this role, and what was your impression of the film when you first read the script?
Okay, so I got the role, as all actors typically do. There was a casting session in Hollywood. I was a brand new to the scene. Really pretty much the first thing that I'd ever done. And so I went to a casting session and stood in line, put my name on the sheet, and went in and read. I only had probably 3 pages, and I think those pages, it's hard for me to recall exactly, but I believe they were the scene where I was in the store with Mr. Sims at one point, and then another page was with the store clerk that was my boss, Andy. And that was all that I read. And so I never really saw the full script until I pretty much was on my way to Utah to shoot the film. My first impression of the film was when I saw it at the Directors Guild. It was basically the first time the film was showing, and because again I was very new to Hollywood, and I didn't know how it was all going to look in its finished product. I was blown away. If you can imagine, the film of this sort, and this was the first thing that I'd ever done. I was truly blown away by it. It kind of, it was scary because my mother and father, thinking, oh, good, we're gonna go see, they call me Bobby. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna go see Bobby's film, and telling everybody, and friends and neighbors, and yeah, my dad looked at me after that was done, and like, what the hell did you do? Seriously, he was not happy with me. He's like, what's wrong with you, kid? So, yeah, I was shocked, and my parents were shocked, but yeah, pretty wild beginning.
So on that note, like the controversy the film had when it came out, like, were you kind of surprised by that, and did that affect your opinion of doing the film, or what you initially thought of it after it got pulled so quickly?
Yeah, like I said earlier when I introduced it tonight, it changed right away my opinion of the film, because I thought I had done something bad. Because Siskel and Ebert, like I'd mentioned, they came out and gave a thumbs down and said, shame on these producers to take advantage of a holiday like this. And shame, shame, shame. So I thought it was bad, and again, and there went the tape. I started running the tape on that. So yeah, I didn't feel real good about it, and I thought that, I was new to Hollywood, and I thought, well, that was fun. It's over. So that was kind of my opinion right out the gate.
Did you get any contact for other horror movies like that?
No, after that, another horror film. I hung around Hollywood for a little while after that. Did some soap operas, did some primetime TV, but nothing in the horror genre.
So one of the things I think that makes this movie so memorable is the mixture of comedy with horror. Like, there are some really, really dark moments in it that are kind of hard to watch, but largely it's kind of funny. When you were shooting it, like, how much of that came across to you? Like, do you feel like the director was pretty aware of that and how he guided your performance or anything like that? Or?
Wow, I think that, I'm not sure. I mean, he was a real technical director, and a lot of actors I've learned through the years, they kind of like that because they don't want to discuss too much of how to do what they were going to do with their character and with the role. Mm-hmm. So from that aspect, he didn't, really try to guide me or say, give me more of this or give me less of that. He just let me be. And with that said, I don't know that he saw the humor in it. I think that's was basically given to us by the writer. The writer saw that. I've spoke to Mr. Hickey on a couple of occasions, and yeah, he's the one that really saw the humor in it. Yeah, that's where that came from, I would say, from the writer.
Okay. Was there much like improvisation, or did they have the writer on set, like changing things at all, or?
No, the writer was not on set, and as far as my role went, there was zero improvisation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but you know, this film kind of was obscure for a long time, and then it kind of had a big resurgence, and you hadn't really done cons till like 10 years ago. Like, when did you first start to get an inkling that this thing you've done so long ago had a really rabid fan base behind it?
Well, yeah. Once again, it was that invitation to the 30-year anniversary that I came to realize with the crowd and with their knowledge of the film and the response to the humor, and that's when I realized that there was a following, and that there was much more there than I ever expected. And like I mentioned earlier, I'd been running this bad tape on this for 30 years, and that night it changed. It changed, like the moment that pretty much when we sat down in the theater, it changed for me. I realized that people liked the film. I had nothing to be ashamed of. That they found it funny, which I never anticipated that when I was making the film. And the first time when I watched it at the Directors Guild 30 years prior, 40 years now, the folks there were a bunch of Hollywood folks, and I don't think really anybody laughed that entire night. So that was my introduction to it. So it was at the 30-year anniversary that my world changed regarding Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Okay. So you didn't have any inkling before that? Like, did you ever have people stop you or anything like that?
No one. No one that I would come in contact with ever knew that I did the film. As a matter of fact, I worked in an industry I've recently retired from about 2 years ago, and for about 20 years, I spent 27 years in the industry. About 20 years in that industry, no one knew that I had done this film. So it wasn't until I started doing some cons that some people put it together and said, "You're the dude." And I was like, "No." So it kind of caught on 20 years into my profession then. And to this day, I live in a town in Los Angeles, and I work outside a lot. I work in my front yard. I like plants and I like nurturing things, and no one in my neighborhood knows. Like, if you guys were in my neighborhood, you'd know more about me than they do. It's not like it's a big secret, it's just no one knows. And certainly, if they pay any attention to me, I've lived there for about 20 years now, they'd be shocked that I'm Billy.
So when the second film came out, did you see it when it was first released, or did you see it later? And what did you think about it, and how much of the first movie it is?
Oh wow! Yeah. So no, I didn't see the second film for a very long time. As a matter of fact, it's only been a few years now that I've watched it. And the way it was set up, after I'd done the first film, and then I heard they were going to do a second one, my agent contacted me and said, "Hey, they're going to do like a panning shot, and they're going to like capture a picture of you to just kind of frame back to Billy, and they're going to do, they're going to offer you a payout." They gave me a payout. It was not that much money, but it was like a free paycheck, and in Hollywood we're looking for every paycheck we can get because it's few and far between. And I accepted it, and had no idea that it was like 30 minutes of the second film. They got me. They got me. Interestingly, they used so much of the first film, which anybody who's seen part 2 is aware of that. But then the direction that it went with my brother Ricky, my dear friend Eric Freeman, I get to do some cons with Eric, and he's a wonderful man. What they did with the film is unique, and it stands on its own. So I'm pleased for Eric. It's hard for him to accept that he has a following as well. It kind of blows his mind, but yeah, uniquely, that film stands on its own, even though they used a large part of the first one in that film. So, very cool.
So, my last question.
Sure.
I guess they're about to do another reboot. Have you been approached about that for a cameo or anything?
Yes and no. Something has been mentioned, and I would be honored to be a part of it, but I'd hate to say too much because I don't want to jinx anything. They've talked about doing this a number of times, so I just keep my fingers crossed that they put something together that's worthy, that you folks would like, and if I could be a part of it, it would be great.
All right. Who has some questions? Right there.
So speaking of reboots, I just want to know what were your thoughts on the 2000 Silent Night Deadly Night? If you've seen it.
Yes, I have seen it, and yeah, I mean,
He didn't say that.
I didn't say that. Yeah, for me, now that I've seen the first one a number of times, it's just hard to stand up to that. We just don't get the backstory on why Billy became who he became. So, I mean, I like anything that comes out because it continues to feed the wheel, if you will. And so I appreciate anything that comes out, and so I appreciate that they took another swing at it. But certainly my favorite is number 1.
Other question? Back there?
Hi. So, something that is one of my favorite things about this character in particular is a lot of times in the slasher genre, we get these, especially in big franchises, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, they're these big, supreme, unstoppable forces of evil. And Billy is very human. And I think that's one of my favorite things about him. Were you familiar with kind of the slasher genre as a whole when you took this part?
No, I wasn't. And I don't want to go too far into my backstory, but I grew up, I didn't have great dreams to become an actor. I grew up playing sports, and pretty much all of my spare time was dedicated to doing that. So I really didn't follow the film world all that much. So maybe that was good, that I didn't have that in the back of my mind when I got this role. Something has been said to me, I think it was the producer, Ira Barmack, who's no longer with us, but he was a part of the callback session when I went and read the second time to hopefully get the role. And what he told me on the plane ride, perhaps because he wanted me to continue to play in that way, was that a lot of the actors that came in played the role in a very menacing way. And what he liked about what I brought to it was that I wasn't attempting to be menacing in any way. That I was just an innocent kid that got caught up in a bad day.
Thank you.
Right there?
Yeah, I was going to have two quick ones. What's your favorite part of Silent Night, Deadly Night? And then what's your favorite role that you have done besides Silent Night, Deadly Night?
My favorite part is probably a turning point in the film that kind of suggests to all of us watching was when he approached the little girl after placing Linnea on the antler horns and tossing the young man out the window. And the little girl came up, and I think I kind of recall reading the script and hoping that I didn't do anything bad to her. And so with that, the fact that I'd asked her on a couple of occasions if she'd been good and she was sure she hadn't been naughty, I was very relieved that he didn't do anything to punish her, because I think that lets us all know as an audience that Billy was trying to do what he thought Santa should do, which was punish the bad and reward the good. So that's my favorite scene, because I believe it's pivotal to the character. It shows that he's still got a heart in there. He's still trying. Let's see, what would be something that just came to mind is something that I watched here just recently. Is a role. It was a small role. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but it was with Heather Locklear. Was it Dynasty? I think the story was maybe Dynasty, and I did a role on that where I approached her, and I think if TV would have allowed it, not to be weird and bad, but I was a real shady character, and I was trying to take advantage of her. And a fight ensued. Her boyfriend or something at the time, the character's name was Jeff, and he came in and rescued her and kind of tossed me around and beat me up. But that film was, I mean, that was memorable because it, kind of tested me, and I'm not that guy. I mean, if you know who I am, I'm not menacing, I'm not mean, at least I don't think so. My wife might say I am on occasion. So it was a challenge for me, and I enjoyed the role because it was a little bit unsavory. I kind of like playing those types of characters.
Thank you.
Other questions? Anything?
For this to be your first film, it's very heavy subject matter, or lots of genre that you talked about. Do you have any fond memories from being on set, or maybe some fun things you guys did behind the scene that wasn't so heavy?
Oh yeah. The crew was great. All of that. I'll tell you, from what I understand, that when on a horror set, when you're doing film, they all get very excited about the day when there's going to be a kill. So that was always fun. But beyond that being part of the filmmaking, we were in Utah, so they took me out to the hot springs, and we drank whiskey and hung out and laughed it up. There was a lot of fun out there. The crew was fantastic. If I were still in that neighborhood, they'd be my friends. We'd hang out. Yeah, so there was a lot of fun. It's fun making horror films.
What do you remember about hurling Linnea around?
Let's see. We had to, she was a small, petite young lady, and so they asked if I thought that I could lift her and hold her and all of that business. And fortunately, she was petite as she is, and I was able to lift her up and hold her there and get her up to the antlers. And then after that, Hollywood kicks in and they did prosthetic and all that business. But yeah, that's kind of what I remember there. I remembered coming to the door on a number of occasions and some of the set guys going, "Hey man, screw this up so we can do that scene again." Like, oh, come on, man. So that didn't work out for them. We just, we really shot that film. It was kind of a lot of the times if the take was good, if technically it was good, we're moving on to the next shot.
Did you also lift up your, I think Andy's his name at the store? You lift him up with one hand? Was that also?
No, that was, well, there was help there. I don't recall how. I think maybe someone stuck a bat up his butt or something. That would have been fine with me. But, no, yeah, I did. I can remember though, it was a struggle, and I can remember holding him and giving it all I had to choke him out. He was a prick.
Other questions?
So shooting in northern Utah in the winter already has its own challenges, but like in the early 80s, it was a pretty conservative area. Did you guys get a lot of pushback, or did you find any dirty looks and stuff from the community?
No. No, and you know, there were days where we had lots of extras, like the day when I first put on the Santa suit and I was sitting there in the store and taking pictures with the kids. We had a lot of outsiders come in, and they were all glad to be a part of the film, and never really any kickback as far as I recall. And I'm sure there were some people in town that probably didn't want that film being made there. But I didn't catch any of that. Yeah, cool.
Right there?
So it kind of looks back around your favorite scene and what you just mentioned with the extras. So there's a lot of scenes with kids in the movie. A lot of times you're staring them down, or you're talking to that little girl and you're being very creepy. Did you have to spend time with them beforehand to like make sure they weren't uncomfortable, or were they all professional? Or
Well, the little girl, I can speak on that. There was nothing set up for me to sit and talk with her and make sure that she was comfortable and aware that we were just playing movies. But I took a few opportunities in between shots to make sure that she knew that I wasn't a bad guy. I took the time to just talk with her a little bit. Mostly, you know, so she wasn't scared, of course, but also so that she could just be comfortable and do her part in the film and not be scared or break down or anything of that nature. So she knew that behind the mask, if you will, behind the beard, that there was just me. And I was just acting. So, good question.
We're going to do a couple more. Right there?
How long were you on set for?
Gosh, I want to say a month, but it might have been just 3 weeks. Yeah, it was quick. Yeah, good question.
Right there.
So how shocked or disappointed were you when you found out this, with all the protests and the movie being pulled? Was that, I know you touched on it before, but is that a big blow or?
No, it really wasn't. I think as time went on, I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and because with time, people's opinion, and I wasn't really in the know, but people's opinion that were in the know was that there was nothing, that the film had an undercurrent of folks out there watching it, and that it was doing well. So I was kind of bummed then, as time went on, that it didn't make it. I mean, when it came out in the first 2 weeks, it was in the top 10. It was in front of Nightmare on Elm Street. And so in hindsight, you know, you look back and go, wow, You know, what would have happened with my career had Silent Night, Deadly Night been canceled? So, you know, I thought about that for a while. But truth be told, I have 3 wonderful children and a wonderful wife, and everything's turned out great.
But you could have had like 4 Silent Night, Deadly Nights. Just kidding.
Nah, it's true, it's true. Yeah, here we are.
All right, let's give him a big round of applause. If you did not get anything signed yet or pick up a photo, he's going to set up out there for a little bit longer, so definitely check that out. And we have a secret screening. I guess I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what it is. How many of you have seen any of the other Silent Night, Deadly Night